Hey students, this week's topic is child guidance. Sometimes it's called child discipline, but I like to call it child guidance. What I'm going to do this week is share with you a workshop that I did for many years for college students who were working as teachers' aides in the Early Childhood Center at Kishwaukee College. So you guys are smart like college students, so I'm going to do this workshop for you. So I think it will go well. One difference that I'm aware of is that many of you do not work currently with children. So some of the examples might not make that much sense to you because you're not working with children, but I hope you will learn some good tools for working with young children and guiding young children. So let's dive in. Three parts of this workshop. First part is we're going to look at what is child guidance, just what does that term mean? We're going to talk about two approaches to child guidance. We're going to talk about several tools. I think there's 14 or 15 tools that we can use to guide children's behavior. So that is the overview. Now we're going to look at what is child guidance. So I have a quote here that I found in a very influential book that I would just want to read to you. Guiding children's behavior is something done throughout the day, not just when a child acts in a way that is unsafe or unacceptable. You guide behavior by establishing predictable routines, setting clear rules with children, and modeling kindness and respect. You are also attentive and aware of what is going on. Together, these actions help children to feel noticed, to feel confident, and to feel secure. Children experience your attention and guidance as a caring embrace, holding everything together. So this quote to me really tells me that guidance happens all day long and that children really need our guidance and they feel secure when they're effectively guided by the adults in their life. So answering the question, what is child guidance? Simply stated, it's everything that we do to help children learn to do the right thing. Sometimes the right thing can be called appropriate behavior, acceptable behavior, desired behavior, helpful behavior, making good behavior choices. I guess that's it. So these all have the word behavior in them, and they're all talking about the behavior that we want to see from children. So when we guide children, we help them to display the kinds of behavior that are helpful and good in a classroom. Now I want to talk about what are some right behaviors that we want to see from children. So what do we want to actually see? We want to see them sharing toys with classmates. So this is going to happen very young when kids are first in an early childhood center, perhaps in a child care or preschool. It's also going to happen as kids get older. Sharing is part of our lives and they need to learn how to do that. The right behavior is cleaning up toys when they're finished, following classroom and playground guidelines and rules. So throughout schooling, teachers have guidelines and rules that children are to follow to keep things safe and to make the educational experience the best that it can be. Another right behavior is showing respect to teachers, parents, and other students. So respecting others is a very important thing for kids to do. Another right behavior is following teacher directions and requests. The teacher tries to lead the children and provide various directions and requesting students to do something in his or her class. And something we want to see is for kids being able to do the things that are asked of them. Use learning materials safely and appropriately. So this happens throughout all of schooling. When children are young, it's very small toys that they're using. When they get older, it may be things in a chemistry lab. It may be Chromebooks that students are using. So students need to learn to use the materials safely and for their appropriate use. Learning through play and hands-on engagement. So when we see children actively playing and learning, this is what we want to see happening as they're discovering knowledge about the world in which they live. Another one with young children is eating with good skill, using proper manners. The last one I have here is be kind and polite when interacting with others. Very similar to respect, but we want to be for children to be kind and polite when they interact with peers, parents, teachers, etc. Next, we're going to look at two approaches to child guidance. The first one I'm calling the negative guidance approach. The negative guidance approach, you're going to hear the teacher making some threats of consequences, such as, if you don't listen, I'm going to tell your mom. In the negative approach, the teacher also focuses on the inappropriate or undesired behavior. I told you not to throw toys. Stop running in the classroom. Don't scream. So in each of these, the teacher is focusing on what the kid's doing wrong and saying, stop it, don't do it, etc. In negative guidance, the teacher uses the words stop, no, don't, can't, etc. in non-emergency situations, such as stop running, don't play with your food, no hitting, etc. So we want to reserve these words if there's an emergency that we need to direct a child in something and have them stop something. We want to reserve it for that time. Negative guidance approach also is commanding rather than requesting. We would say to the child, go sit down rather than sit down, please. Or go to the bathroom now rather than please walk with me to the bathroom. So a couple examples there of the teacher being a commander rather than a guide and a requester. Negative guidance approach also has the teacher using an unpleasant voice. An unpleasant voice is one that is harsh, impatient, angry, frustrated, etc. whenever they're communicating with children. Sometimes teachers can use good words, but the tone in which they say those words is unpleasant. So we have to be careful to listen to both our words and the tone in which we say them. Another aspect of the negative guidance approach is its focus on controlling children rather than managing behavior and teaching children to make good behavior choices. So controlling children is just the teacher being in charge and the kids doing what the teacher asks, but we really want children to learn how to manage their own behavior and to do the right thing even when no one is watching. The last one I have on here is a negative guidance approach is correcting children in front of peers. All of us have had a time probably when somebody has corrected us in front of peers, and that makes it very hurtful and very damaging to the relationship. So whenever possible, we want to avoid correcting children in front of their peers. So if a teacher uses negative guidance, there will be some results from that approach. First one, children may feel rejected. They may feel disrespected rather than being accepted and respected. So none of us want children in our care to feel rejected or disrespected. None of you as high school students want to feel rejected or disrespected either. So kind of think back when you were younger and remember that. Another result may be that children may feel devalued. They may say to themselves, my teacher doesn't think I'm important, or my teacher doesn't like me. So they might feel devalued. Another one, negative approaches aren't effective. They simply don't work. They may be good at stopping behavior right now, but they don't teach children the appropriate replacement behavior. So it's not a lasting thing. The teacher's constantly going to need to be there to stop behavior if the teacher doesn't help the child to learn what is acceptable behavior in that situation. Another negative consequence of negative approach is that teacher time and energy is focused on stopping behavior over and over and over rather than being able to use their time to connect with children. So connections with children is a very important thing that teachers do, and we want them to be able to spend their time doing that, connecting with children and helping them learn in the classroom. Another negative result of negative guidance is that parents and other teachers are not giving good guidance examples. So when we have other teachers watching us, perhaps student teachers watching us, perhaps parents watching us, and we're not using good positive guidance approaches, then we're providing bad examples, and people are going to learn bad examples from us, the trained teachers that work with children and students. A few more consequences. They fail to create a positive learning environment. So the environment just doesn't feel good. It's just kind of just a sad place to be. So it's not a positive, energetic learning environment. It's really kind of a hushed one because the teacher's really using a lot of negative approaches. Another consequences of negative approaches, they fail to provide children with good examples of treating others with kindness, respect, and politeness. So if a teacher doesn't treat children kindly, respectfully, and politely, then kids aren't going to learn those things. I often say we need to be the people that we want children to grow up to be. So stated another way, as teachers, we need to be the people, we need to model the behavior that we want kids to be able to have when they grow up. So very important thing. And the last thing about the negative guidance approach, it robs teachers of the joy of learning and teaching. We really want teachers to have a joyful job, and when teachers only have negative approaches to guiding, it's not a very fun job because they're not using tools that are helpful and effective. So we just learned about the negative guidance approach. Counter to that is the positive guidance approach. The positive approach, you're going to use tools and techniques that work, and we're going to explore a bunch of those tools in the next portion of this workshop. We want to always ask ourselves, is what I'm saying or doing working? Is the tool that I'm using working in this situation? When we use a positive guidance approach, we're going to see positive effects from that. Children are going to learn behaviors that will help them throughout their lives. They're going to learn how to share. They're going to learn how to cooperate. They're going to learn how to communicate with others. They're going to learn how to take turns. They're going to learn how to pay attention. They're going to learn all those skills that are going to help them as young children, help them as first graders, help them as sixth graders, help them as high school students and college students. So we want to teach behaviors that are going to help people throughout their lives. When we use positive approaches, teachers are able to focus their time and energy on building relationships with children and on teaching. They're not putting out fires constantly because they're using positive approaches to help kids learn how to display positive behaviors. Importantly, children understand that we as teachers love, respect, accept, and appreciate them. Every one of us wants to feel loved, respected, accepted, and appreciated. And we as teachers have the opportunity to help children feel that from us. Parents and other teachers learn skills from us that they can use in parenting and in future teaching roles. I have heard from some students that are well beyond Kishwaukee College, and they may be parents, they may be teachers, and they have shared how the things that they learned while working at the Early Childhood Center, the skills that they learned from me and from my co-teachers, really helped them both being positive parents and being positive teachers. So we can help people learn good skills. Another positive effect is that the classroom environment is pleasant. Teachers and children enjoy their time at school. We all want to go to school and enjoy our time there, so this is a very important positive effect. Teachers enjoy being with children. They receive joy from their work. I don't know about you, but I think everybody wants to go to a job where they're going to feel joy, they're going to feel satisfaction, they're going to feel that they're doing well. So this is a very important positive effect of positive guidance. All right, in class, I was then going to toss out the question, what are some reasons why we may use negative versus positive guidance techniques? And typically the answers that I hear are these are the approaches that have been used with us when we were growing up. Maybe have been used by parents who kind of shamed us into doing something or used threats to get us to do something. So oftentimes students say, this is what I've learned. I haven't learned any positive techniques. So those are some reasons why we use what we know. So now we're going to focus on equipping our tool belts, tools for positive guidance, and effective classroom management. In the actual workshop, I typically have a tool belt sitting there, and the tool belt has a whole variety of tools in it. And I use this kind of as an analogy, kind of to talk to people that are taking this workshop, how we have to have many, many, many tools to do a job. I enjoy doing woodworking. I've built clocks, I've built beds, I've built climbers, I built all kinds of things. And I haven't built any of these things using just a hammer. I've used a saw, and I've used a level, and I've used a planer, and I've used a table saw, and I've used nail guns, and I've used all these kinds of tools because you need a bunch of different tools to come up with the good results. So that's why I'm using the tool belt as an illustration, because I want to help you as students to put a bunch of these tools in your belt that you can use when working with children. At this point in the workshop, we say, what are some examples of guidance challenges you face in your classrooms or on the playground? And teachers will often say kids not getting along with each other, kids not following safety rules like walking in the classroom, kids not listening to me when I talk to them, kids not being respectful of their peers, that kind of thing. So those are some challenges that teachers often face. So now we're going to roll into the tools. Tool number one, I call say it, show it, and strengthen it. Step one in this tool is say it. Describe, using positive phrasing, what you want to see the child do. So some examples of this would be, please walk to the bathroom. Please draw with the markers. Please sit down when you go down the slide. Please touch me gently. Please build with the blocks, etc., etc., etc. So in each of these examples, I have told the child what I want to see them doing. I've made clear to them what the positive appropriate behavior is. I never once said, don't don't eat the markers. I never once said, stop hitting me. I said, please touch me gently. Please draw with the markers. We describe what we want to see happening. We do not include the negative or opposite behavior in our statement. So this is difficult to do sometimes, especially when we're just learning positive guidance, but we always want to make sure we're just saying the positive side of the behavior. So step two is show it. Show children a visual example of what the behavior looks like. For example, please walk to the bathroom. I would gently hold the child's hand and I'd walk with them to the bathroom. So here my words are getting paired with my action to actually show them what walking to the bathroom looks like. Please draw with the markers. I'm going to pick up a marker and I'm going to draw with it as I'm using these words to give children a visual example of what I'm asking them to do. Please sit down when you go down the slide. At the Early Childhood Center, we had a really cool double slide where it was two slides right next to each other. So if there was a child that wanted to stand up and go down the slide, I would be up there with them or have another teacher up there with them. I would say, please sit down on the slide, and then I would sit down the slide right next to them and slide down next to them. Please touch me gently. So if I've had a child that's kind of been rough with their hands with me, I would say, please touch me gently. And I'm going to take their hand gently in my hand and kind of take their hand and kind of rub it on my arm just to show what gentle touch looks like and feels like. Please build with the blocks. I would just build a simple structure alongside the child to show that blocks are for building with. Use descriptive words to point out what you are doing, such as, we're walking carefully to the bathroom, or I'm using my hand to touch you softly. This is the principle of descriptive modeling. So we're always describing what we're doing to make it very salient to the children. And next comes the strengthen it part of this tool. When a child does the desired behavior, genuinely notice them doing it. For example, you are walking safely to the bathroom. I see that you're drawing on the paper. Way to go. It's great to see you being careful sitting on the side. I appreciate how you're touching me softly. That feels good. You sure can build some cool stuff with those blocks. When we affirm positive behavior, it feels good to the child and they're more likely to do it again. This is called the principle of positive reinforcement. The same works for us. If a parent or teacher thanks us for doing something, we're going to be more inclined to do it the next time. So here are some examples. Say it. Billy's using the ball right now. How can we tell him? Oh, I'm sorry. So if we see a child trying to get a ball from another, we're going to say to them, Billy's using the ball right now. How can we tell him that we want the ball? And then we're going to then we're going to say it. Billy, can I have the ball when you're finished? And then we're going to strengthen it. You said, Billy, can I have the ball when you're finished? And he gave it to you when he was finished. Asking him worked really well. That was the problem. The next one, instead of me saying, stop bending the book, what I'm going to say is, let's use the book carefully. And then I'm going to show it. Whenever we use books, we hold them like this, and then I'll demonstrate that careful holding of the book with my hands, and then I'll strengthen it with the child. You're being very gentle with the book. I bet you'll hold the book carefully next time too. So when we say it, show it, and strengthen it, we are really increasing the odds of the child learning this behavior and demonstrating this behavior next time. This one, we don't hit our friends. This would be kind of the negative thing, saying don't hit our friends. Alternatively, in a positive way, we would say, when we're playing with friends, we touch them gently. And then we would show it. This is what a gentle touch feels like as I touch their arm. And I would say, can you touch my arm gently? So that they would have a chance to practice that with me. And then I would strengthen it. Thank you for touching me gently. I feel safe when you do that. So we're reinforcing that positive behavior. At that point in the workshop, we did everyday examples where teachers would toss out things that they may hear in the classroom, and we would talk about different ways of doing that. Tool number 2 is use your manners. Please say please and thank you when making requests to children. Thank you. So why do manners matter? Why is it important for us to use manners when we're working with children? Manners are not just nice words to say. They convey respect to others. When I ask you to do an assignment, I don't bark it out at you. I would rather say, please do this for me. Please, whatever. So they convey respect to others. They show that we're teachers. We are not their bosses, but we are teachers that are caring individuals. They provide children with good life examples. If we want children to be polite in their interactions with others, then we have to first show this politeness and be a good model and a good example. Manners also put people first. So another important reason for us to use manners when we're working with children. number 3 is connect with kids, build relationships. So why do relationships matter? They show kids or students that we love them and that we're on their team. Everybody wants to have other people on their team going in the same direction as them, cheering them on. So when we build relationships with children, we show that we're on their team. Another important reason is that kids are much more likely to respond to our request when they enjoy, respect, and honor us. When kids really care about a teacher because the teacher really cares for them, the children are much more likely to respond to what you're saying to them. Some things that you can do to build relationships with kids are be there. Be present with kids. We have so many things that we're doing in the classroom, but when I'm with a student, with a child, I really want to focus on them right then and there and be there with them. Be kind, be friendly. Be fun and use humor. Kids love to laugh together, and they love it when their teachers are funny and use humor. Another thing is to learn what's important to kids. If I know that a child has a dog or has a favorite activity at home, I can talk to them about that. Similar, when we have students in class here and we know that somebody's going through a rough patch, we can get to know that about them. We can get to know what's important to them, what music they like, that kind of stuff. So it's important for us to build relationships with each other, just as we build relationships with students that we teach. Another thing is to listen carefully, to really be attentive when students are talking with us. Tool number 4 is one that I call catch 'em being good. Notice and affirm positive behavior choices. So what I want you to do here is to get your magnifying glass out and look for children doing the right thing. If we see somebody sharing with a friend, if we see someone waiting for their turn, if we see someone building creatively with the toys that they have in front of them, if we see them cleaning up when they're finished with something, walking inside, etc. Whenever I see this, I'm going to affirm what I observe. It sure is fun playing together when you share toys. I see that sharing with a friend and I'm affirming that. You are waiting so patiently for your turn on the rocking boat, really emphasizing that I appreciate how they're waiting for their turn. I notice that you put all the Legos back in the basket. Thanks for being responsible. Again, I'm affirming what I've observed. I'm never saying good job, good boy, good girl, that kind of thing, but I'm actually affirming the positive behavior that I observed in the students. This is the principle of positive reinforcement. Tool number 5, find the needle in the haystack. Another one of the things that I've made up that I like as a tool. What I want you to do here is to find just one child doing the desired behavior and sincerely thank them. So look for that one child doing the right thing and thank them publicly for doing the right thing. Other children are going to see your approval and they're going to start doing the same thing as well. Examples of this. It's rest time now. When we start rest time, some kids are sitting up, some kids are bouncing around, some kids are doing whatever kids do on their cots. But I say, oh, Cindy, thank you for lying down. And you know what? Every other child hears me say that, and then they lie down as well. And then I thank them as well. So I'm just finding that needle in the haystack, which was Cindy lying down on her cot, thanking her, and then thanking others. Thanks for putting your hands on your lap, John. So let's pretend we're sitting down for lunchtime. Sometimes when you sit down for lunchtime, kids are grabbing, reaching, that kind of stuff, and that doesn't go very well. So I just say to the one child, hey, thanks for putting your hands in your lap, John, and the other kids start to do that as well. When others follow suit, make sure that you thank them too. It's not just the kid who does it first that gets the affirmation and the appreciation, but we can thank others for doing the positive behavior as well. So tool number 5 is finding the needle in the haystack. Tool number 6, I call use advanced appreciation. Thank kids for doing something before they actually do it. So this one's kind of tricky. Let me explain here. So first of all, have in mind what you want children to do, then you thank them for doing it. For example, so let's pretend that we are ending an activity, everybody's coming over to sit down for group time, and before they're even there, I say to them, thanks for sitting down at group time. Thanks for walking to the bathroom, before children start doing that. So I'm thanking them for doing the positive thing that I want to see happening. Thanks for reading the book carefully. Thanks for putting your hands in your lap while you're waiting to eat. Simply thanking a child for something reminds them of what they're supposed to be doing, and it leads them to do it. Hopefully. It works most of the time. You'll have to try it and see if it works for you. Tool number 7, have age and individually appropriate expectations. So it's important to be realistic about what you can expect from children. You always want to take into account the child's age and their individual development as you consider what he or she cannot be expected to do. So if I know what kids can do and what they can't do quite yet, this helps me not to grow frustrated when a child can't do something that we ask of them. So some examples here. A 4-year-old gets fidgety during a 30-minute group time. Of course they're going to get fidgety during a 30-minute group time. 4-year-olds are not developmentally capable of sitting for a 30-minute group time. So if I was expecting that, I would grow frustrated, but I need to not have that expectation. A 2-year-old grabs a scoop from another child in the sensory table when there's only one scoop present. I know that 2-year-olds have a tough time sharing, so instead of me becoming frustrated before I even open the sensory table, I'm going to make sure that there are several scoops in there so each child can have one for scooping whatever materials in the sensory table. A 2-year-old child just kind of looks at you when you ask them to put their shoes on. 2-year-olds can't put shoes on yet typically, so having an inappropriate expectation may make me as a teacher get frustrated with the children. So it's important to always have appropriate expectations. Oh, here's another one. A 3-year-old child knocks down another child's block structure. That's what kids do, so try not to get frustrated, rather have good age-appropriate expectations for what kids can do. Tool number 8, I like to call paint a picture. Describe to children what we're doing next. Children, and really all of us, benefit from having a plan of what's coming next. Some examples here. We're going to play for 10 more minutes, boys and girls. Then we're going to clean up. Then we're going to get ready to go outside. Or, we're going to sit down at the table and put our hands in our lap before we pass our food around. We're going to get our coats on and then sit down on the rug. So in all of these examples, I've really painted a picture. I've really described to kids, we're going to do this, then this, then this, so they have that expectation. I do the same things when I'm working with high school students, where I try to say, we're going to do this, then this, then this, so that you know where we're going, so you know where we're going on our journey that day. Tool number 9, I call share the love. Express affection through your words and through your appropriate touch. Tell kids they're cool, they're neat, they're fun, etc. This always builds them up and helps them connect with you. Connected kids, again, want to please the adults that they're with. So we want to make sure we express affection to them. I love to give kids high fives, give them hugs, give them knuckles, etc. to show your appreciation of them. And you can also do those things when a child does the right thing. When you see a kid walk to the bathroom, and this kid is one that always ran to the bathroom, they're going to get there and I'm going to say, wow, you walked to the bathroom? Give me a high five, and we will do that. So I'm affirming that positive behavior by sharing the love. Children and all of us receive love in different ways, and I've listed some here. Words of affirmation, so things that are affirming to us. Some people receive affirmation or love through physical touch, acts of service, somebody doing something for you, or quality time, just spending time with you. So those are 4 different ways that we receive love. Oh, fifth one is gifts. Some people really enjoy it when they receive a gift. Tool number 10, I call this, then that. Use a simple sentence to help children understand what he or she can do, that he or she can do what they want to do after they do what you want them to do. So why for this? We want to avoid getting into a power struggle with the children. Power struggles rarely end well, so we want to avoid that. So some examples of this, then that. You're welcome to play after you put your coat in your cubby. So I remember many times where we would come inside and an expectation was that the child would put their coat in their cubby. They wouldn't want to do it. So rather than me say, put your coat in your cubby, put your coat in your cubby, put your coat in your cubby, I would say, hey, you're welcome to play after you put your coat in your cubby. And I would just leave it there so the child would know, I want to play, so I need to do this in order to do that. You'll be able to eat snack after you wash your hands. Everybody wants to eat snack, but sometimes they don't want to wash their hands. So simply making this little equation, you will eat snack after you wash your hands. I'm saying you'll be able to do this after you do that. You can play in the dirt in the table after you put your smock on. So smocks were an important thing to keep kids' clothes kind of clean. So if they wanted to play in the dirt table, they needed to put a smock on first. So using this then that is effective in those kind of examples. Tool number 11 is make your learning environment work. Provide interesting choices for children in a well-organized learning environment. Children are much more inclined to do the right thing when they're involved in learning. So we're going to provide kids with a wide variety of interesting choices of what they may play with and what they may do in the classroom. We need to remember to keep in mind children's ages and abilities. We want to try not to under or over challenge children's abilities. Another important thing for me to do as a teacher is to rotate materials regularly so I can keep things fresh and interesting. Tool number 12, I wasn't sure what to call this, so I call it watch out for teachery phrases. So well-meaning teachers sometimes use the following dull phrases that tend not to be very helpful to children. Since I'm using tools as an analogy, a saw that is dull isn't going to cut very well. So we want to make sure that we're using tools that are sharp. Sometimes teachers will say, use your words when they want a child to tell another child, hey, I'm using that. So they'll say, use your words. And this doesn't work if a child doesn't have those words to use. Sometimes I've heard teachers say, we're using our walking feet rather than walk please. So kids really don't have a different sets of feet, so I didn't find this one very helpful. Use your inside voice. I would rather say, let's speak softly while we're inside. Say nice words. This is kind of another one that nice is kind of an abstract term, so we want to instead model some appropriate helpful words to say. Be nice to your friends is another one. So if a child is hitting another and we say be nice to your friends, this might not be very helpful for the child because they haven't learned how to be nice and kind and gentle with their friends. Please be gentle. Again, gentle is an abstract concept. The kids have to learn first. So we want to make sure that we provide a good example of that. Teachers also sometimes say, you need to, when they're phrasing something, and I much prefer for them to say, please do this, rather than you need to. Again, that is a way of requesting something rather than demanding something. So each phrase that is listed above here assumes that the child understands what we're talking about. So that's why I caution teachers to watch out for teachery phrases. And again, each phrase is rather abstract rather than concrete and understandable. Tool number 13, we're getting there. Try to understand why the child may be acting in a certain way. So kids need our understanding and our compassion. We want to ask ourselves questions like, is this child tired? Is this child missing mom or dad? Those are real feelings that students have. Is a child frustrated because something is just too difficult for him or her? Is a child hungry? This is a really big one. Some kids are just hungry, and it's really hard to behave when you're hungry. I know that sometimes I feel hangry, kind of that angry mood when I'm hungry. So, is the child hungry? If we know what the child needs, it's easier to meet them where they're at. A tired child may need a quiet space to rest in. A child missing her mom or dad may need our hugs and our words of comfort and saying, you know, mom is going to be here after rest time. We'll stay together for a little while. That kind of thing. A child frustrated by a difficult task may need help doing it. It may be very difficult to pick up all the blocks in the block area, so they may need our help and the help of friends. A hungry child may need a small snack. I remember a child that I had, and I could tell when he was getting hungry, and we would give him a small snack. It wasn't snack time yet, but that would change his day. It would change his attitude. It would help him to be successful with peers and be a good listener to the teachers. So sometimes a small snack is helpful. Number 14, show grace and understanding. Sometimes kids, like all of us, just mess up. Sometimes they make poor behavior choices. While we want to help them learn the right behavior, sometimes we need to just accept that we're all imperfect. We're all going to mess up. We need to understand that children are in the process of learning. They may have 48 months here on this earth, and they've got a lot more learning to do. Sometimes it's good to express that we all mistakes, and I'm here to help you do the right thing next time. So really partnering with that child, becoming on their team, that I'm going to help you make the right choices next time. So here we all need grace and understanding too. And while we've learned positive guidance approaches during this workshop, we're occasionally going to mess up. We all need grace and understanding because we are learning tool. We are learning too. Our goal, and this is the goal that I always told the teachers at the Early Childhood Center, is to become ever better. So every day we want to get a little bit better than we were the day before. We want to continue learning and practicing our skills and using the tools that we have in front of us. At this point, we may talk about any additional approaches that teachers think might be helpful in guiding young children's behavior. And then we would close with a brief discussion on what we had talked about. So I know this is a whole bunch of content. I hope it was helpful for you just to learn more guidance tools for working with young children. And just like tools are, the more I use a tool, the more practice I have with it, the better I get at using it. And it's also important to know that some tools work better with some children, so we need to use the right tool for the right job. So, all right, thanks for listening.